Right now, there's a dog lying on a couch somewhere, staring at the wall. And if you asked its owner what it's thinking about, they'd probably say something like nothing, or food, or squirrels. But what if that's wrong? What if behind those eyes, there's something looking back? What if that dog knows on some level that it exists? Or, and this is the question that should actually keep you up at night, what if it doesn't? What if you are the only kind of thing in the entire universe that knows it's alive? In 1970, a psychologist named Gordon Gallup Jr. came up with what is still considered the gold standard test for self-awareness in animals. It's called the mirror test. While an animal is unconscious, you put a small mark somewhere on its body, a dot of paint on its forehead, a sticker on its ear, somewhere it can only see in a mirror, not by looking down. Then you put it in front of a mirror and watch what happens. Most animals see their reflection and think it's another animal. They posture, they bark, they try to scare it off. Eventually, they get bored and walk away, never once understanding that the thing they were threatening was themselves. But a handful of animals do something different. They see the mark, they look at the mirror, they look back at themselves, and they reach up and touch the mark on their own body. They understand that the reflection is them. The animals that pass, chimpanzees, bonobos, orangutans, gorillas, but only occasionally, dolphins, orca whales, elephants, and one bird, the Eurasian magpie, a crow-sized creature with a brain the size of your thumb that apparently knows what it looks like. The animals that fail, dogs, cats, almost every other mammal on Earth, including, for the first 2 years of their lives, human babies. Now here's where it gets complicated, because a lot of scientists think the mirror test is a terrible way to measure self-awareness. Dogs, for example, live in a world built almost entirely on smell, not sight. Asking a dog to recognize itself in a mirror might be like asking you to identify yourself from a recording of your own heartbeat. The format of the test is wrong, not the dog. In 2017, researcher Alexandra Horowitz modified the test. Instead of a mirror, she gave dogs a scent version, their own urine, altered urine, and completely foreign urine. Dogs spent significantly more time with the altered version of their own scent. They noticed something about themselves had changed. By their own rules, in their own sensory world, dogs may know exactly who they are, but knowing who you are is different from knowing that you are. There's a distinction philosophers have been arguing about for centuries. It's the difference between being a self and knowing you're a self, between having experiences and knowing you have experiences. There's a word for this: metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, being aware of your own awareness. It's what you're doing right now, actually. You're not just listening to these words. You know that you're listening to these words. You can zoom out from yourself and observe yourself from the outside. Can animals do that? The answer, increasingly, is yes, but it's messier than anyone expected. In 2007, researchers ran an experiment on rhesus monkeys. They gave them a memory test, and after each question, a choice. Take a hard test, worth more points, or an easy test, worth fewer. The monkeys consistently chose easier questions when they were uncertain, and harder questions when they felt confident. They weren't just answering questions. They were evaluating how well they knew the answer before they gave it. That is metacognition. And it doesn't stop at monkeys. Rats will opt out of tests they haven't studied for. Pigeons can report their own memory failures. Dolphins hesitate before answering in a way that mirrors human uncertainty. They know when they know something, and they know when they don't. But here's what science still can't crack. All of that. The mirror recognition, the metacognition, the self-modeling. It's all behavioral. We can watch what animals do. We cannot get inside what they feel. There's a concept philosophers call qualia, the raw, subjective texture of experience. The specific redness of red, the particular pain of a paper cut, the feeling of being you, right now, in this moment. Is there something it feels like to be a dog? Or is the dog just running biological software, processing inputs, producing outputs, with nobody home? Philosopher Thomas Nagel made this famous in a 1974 paper titled, "What is it like to be a bat?" His argument was devastating. Bats navigate by echolocation. They experience the world as a landscape of sound reflections that we literally cannot imagine. And no matter how much we study bat brains and bat behavior, we will never know what it feels like to be one. The inner experience is inaccessible. And if we can't know what it's like to be a bat, how do we know there's anything it's like to be anything other than us? Some scientists think we're massively underestimating animals. In 2012, neuroscientists signed the Cambridge Declaration on Consciousness. Their conclusion? The hardware that runs consciousness in your brain exists in their brains too. The lights, they argued, are probably on. Primatologist Frans de Waal argued that evolution doesn't invent things from scratch. Consciousness evolved gradually, just like legs or eyes or lungs. We are all somewhere along the same line. And then there's the one piece of evidence that's hardest to explain away: grief. In 2018, a killer whale named Tahlequah lost her calf. The baby died shortly after birth, and for 17 days, Tahlequah carried the body of her dead calf on her head as she swam. 17 days, across more than 1,000 miles of ocean. Scientists called it a tour of grief. There was no clean behavioral explanation. It wasn't about survival. There was no evolutionary advantage, except that maybe she knew her calf was gone and couldn't let go. If that's not the behavior of a creature that knows something existed and now doesn't, what is? So, where does that leave us? The science says, yes, some animals can recognize themselves. Yes, they can think about their own thinking. Yes, they feel something probably. But the innermost question, does the dog lying on the couch know it's alive? That one we still can't fully reach. But here's what we do know. Abilities we once thought were uniquely human. Language, tool use, culture, mourning, self-recognition, keep turning up in other species. The wall between us and them has been getting shorter for as long as we've been studying them, which raises an uncomfortable question. If we've been wrong this whole time, if they feel and grieve and know themselves, then the way we treat them isn't just an ethical question. It's something we've been getting wrong for all of human history. And the only reason we got away with it is because we couldn't ask them. In 1966, a chimpanzee named Washoe became the first non-human animal to learn American Sign Language. One day, a researcher who had been gone for months came back to visit. When Washoe saw her, she signed, "Cry." Then she pointed at the researcher's eyes. Cry. She wanted to know why the researcher wasn't crying, why she wasn't as moved as Washoe was. Whether or not Washoe understood her own existence, she understood yours. Maybe that's where it starts.